Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I really hope you enjoyed your lunch, and I really hope you enjoyed much more the presence of your colleagues, having nice exchanges and discussion. My name is Martina Bocci from Tielica Consultancy. I had the pleasure to participate in the preparation of a report which was presented this morning as a consultant of CPMR together with my colleague Raffaele Mancini, and I welcome you to this afternoon session. Well, these two panels are expected to provide us some complementary additional information with respect with the picture that was well described this morning, particularly for fisheries and aquaculture. Our panelists will bring their knowledge and experiences in the Mediterranean area and beyond regarding to practices for circularity in the sector of fisheries and aquaculture for this section. And they will also provide us with some reflections in order to maybe improve and complement the results that were described this morning of the report on circular economy, providing their comments and suggestions regarding the conclusions and recommendations identified so far. So this first panel is about fishery and aquaculture, and I was expected to provide a background, a very short background, but I think it is definitely not needed because this morning we collected already a lot of information of ongoing processes, practices, and everything which is needed to sharply start. I just want to say that from our survey, in the Mediterranean, we can say that circular economy practices are available in the Med, in the sectors of fisheries and aquaculture, I would say along the entire value chain of seafood products. And most of the experiences that we identified are related to pilot cases or small-scale approach. So in my point of view, one of the challenges now is the scalability of these experiences and also the transferability across different Mediterranean countries that, of successful experiences. So multiplication of practices. So without stealing no more time, I would like to introduce our first panelist who is joining online, Mr. Fokion Zaimis, Deputy Governor of Entrepreneurship, Research and Innovation, region of the Western Greece, and also Vice President of the CPMR Inter-Mediterranean Commission. Mr. Zaimis' core experiences is on business innovation and enterprise development. So I would take the opportunity to confirm, hello, Mr. Zaimis, I see you are online. Let me start with some questions I would like to ask you. How can we make of circular economy an opportunity for development of fisheries and aquaculture sector in the Med? And what are the differences, if any, in the two sectors in terms of opportunities for circular economy? And how much circular economy approach in these sectors is linked to technical and technological innovation? The floor is yours, and thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me in the panel. I'm really sorry I was not able to be there in person due to a lot of activities that this month we have in the region. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this very interesting and I would say very knowledgeable event. First of all, I would like to thank the Interreg Med Blue Phasma, led by the University of Patras and specifically our very good friend, Mr. Professor Yorgos Stefanidis, who actually is also a speaker. The Switch Med Initiative, I would like to thank the region of Catalonia for hosting this event and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Italy, as well as Interreg Med Blue Growth Community. Special greetings, if he's there, I hope he will be probably listening to us, to our very good friend George Kremlis, George Alexakis from Crete, Eleni Hadjigianni. I see a lot of people in all the panels, very distinguished speakers with a lot of experience from different angles. Some of them are from the political and local authorities, some are there from the European Commission and the agencies, and some others are from private initiatives and of course from the academia. I think that all of us have to contribute to this event. Now, going to say a few words answering your question. I know that we do not have a lot of time, so we'll try to be very brief. In our area in Western Greece specifically, we have a lot of businesses and areas that involve greatly this community, especially aquaculture and fisheries. We are one of the most important areas in Greece. Therefore, we have daily activities and daily programs and problems sometimes that we face with these initiatives. We have actually in our area very rare biotopes, lagoons, estuaries, salt marshes, water bird habitats. I would say that the salt that arrives from the salt marshes is one of the most famous in Greece, the salt of Mesologi. And we have actually 14 fishing installations in lagoons, 900 fishing vessels of various capacity, mainly small size, 26,000 of sea bream and sea bass, which comes from 26 fish farms, which is around 25% of the total Greek production. We have 10 packing units, 5 hatcheries with a capability of 20 million fingerlings, just briefly. And of course, we are very proud of the famous botargo, which is the Greek caviar, as we say, that is exported in many countries of the world. Therefore, this sector is very important for our economy, and we are doing everything we can in our power to actually try to increase it, combine it with preserving the environment, which is the top priority, of course, and include circular economy in these sectors. I believe circular economy can be implemented and in fisheries and in aquaculture sectors in different ways. It would seem more easy in aquaculture sector because the aquaculture sector is in a specific geographic area. You always have a person or a company which is actually responsible for the operation, and it's more easy to implement new technologies because you have a specific dialogue with specific people. Of course, there are many problems because, as you know, the aquaculture sector sometimes is in rivalry with the tourist sector. But I believe, and we believe as a region, that these two sectors can be combined under strict conditions protecting the environment. I don't believe that there is I believe in coexistence of these sectors. Concerning fisheries, our experience and my personal experience for managing, following in many small and bigger ports in our area, it is a sector that we're very much interested to help to sustain. We do not want this sector to be eliminated for several reasons. First of all, there is an old tradition. The people who usually work on that sector are families who have been following to that for many years. Therefore, there is a know-how that we do not want to lose it, and it's important to have this know-how in the younger generations. Of course, the amount of fish has been decreased severely, due also to the great from the fishing of the large-scale fleets in the Mediterranean area. And of course, this is something that is far beyond Greece's. It goes to the European law and the laws in the European Commission and in international laws that govern this kind of fishing activities. But we believe that the circular economy can and should be implemented in these sectors, from the point that the fish has been caught in the sea to the port that is being comes in the port to be sold. There is always a debris that needs to be recycled. And we always have to think about using energy, especially from renewable energies, also to the ground facilities in the ports, but also probably in the near future to have small electric boats for short distances in order to beat the CO2 problem and try to decrease and go to more greener fisheries. I know this sounds a little bit more far away, but we've been working in projects of trying to use small boats with electric, especially on short distances, using renewable energies. And we are also thinking on some projects now with liquid gas or hydrogen, which is something that we've been working on. I believe that technical and technological innovation is an ongoing process. We have been taught a lot of things from the previous programs of the European Commission. We have a community, a university community with the University of Patras, the University of Peloponnese, the open universities, the research institutes in our area, where we have an ongoing dialogue in order to always try to be on the edge of technology. One of the things that we're doing, and I will stop here because I do not want to take more time, is that we are in the process of finalizing a proposal with a study, a business study, to the government to establish a new research foundation in our area, supplementary to the existing ones, about the agricultural sector, including the fisheries, in order to have even better state-of-the-art scientists that would help us to choose carefully what are the technological tools we need and to implement this in the local businesses. So I would like to thank you once again. I know that there's going to be a second round of speeches, so I'm trying not to take much of your time. But a final comment I would like to say is that in many places, especially in the blue economy, fisheries, aquacultures, what we are facing is not always is to see the future, implement circular economy, but on the same time, try to correct many mistakes that have been done in the coastline and in the small ports and larger ports during especially the 1970s and 1980s. Projects of large infrastructure projects that usually were not in the right direction. Sometimes they were actually destroying the environment and they were not helping the economy. So on the one side, we're trying to, let's say, change these policies and implement more environmental friendly policies. And on the same time, we're trying to adapt to the current philosophy of circular economy. And it's not an always easy task to do, but we are working on that direction. And I'm very happy that we have programs and projects from the European Commission that really help us to go through this difficult period. So thank you very much for the opportunity to have me as a speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaimis, for this very comprehensive presentation. Thank you for all the in-depth reflections that you provided us so far. We will back to you with our questions later on. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Monica Veronesi, Deputy Team Leader of Feminet Support Unit. And Monica is particularly responsible for supporting stakeholders implementing community-led local development in fisheries and aquaculture area. Monica has extensive experience in blue economy, including coastal and maritime tourism, fishery supply chain, and circular economy. And she's also author of the Farnet Guide for Flags, Circular Economy in Fisheries and Aquaculture Areas. And like for Mr. Zaimis, I would like to start with some questions for Monica, based on your experience. How can FLAG can help local communities and fisheries and aquaculture sectors to rethink their economy in order to make it more circular? And what actions would you recommend to promote this mind shift? And finally, a point which I think it is very relevant, what can be done to increase visibility to success cases in your sector? Please, Monica.
Thank you. Is this working? Hello? Can people hear me? Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Martina, and thank you to the organisers. I think we can all agree there's been a lot of very interesting presentations this morning. So without further ado, as I have 6 minutes, how can flags rethink or help their communities to rethink their local economies, and what sort of actions can they help foster? First of all, I actually wanted to very quickly ask in the audience, can you just raise your hand if you know what a flag is? Okay, so we have maybe less than 50%. So perhaps just to quickly explain what the flags are. FLAG stands for Fisheries Local Action Groups. You can always also call them local action groups. And these are funded under, as Martina said, community-led local development, so CLLD. And that is funded under most of the structural and investment funds of the EU. So you have them in rural areas, urban areas as well, with the social fund, the ERDF, under LEADER, and then also in coastal and fisheries and aquaculture areas. And FameNet, so my organisation, we're basically the network that brings these 350 different local action groups together for capacity building, good practice exchange, etc. So these flags will basically receive a budget to implement their local development strategy. And at the moment, we are just at the sort of right time to actually be encouraging them to integrate circular economy to their local development strategies, because we're just starting the new Maritime and Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund, the AMFAF. So this year and next year, depending on the country, they will basically be developing a new local development strategy. It should be a participative local development strategy based on consultation with their local community. And at the moment, this is a big opportunity for them to really consult in their communities, in particular the fisheries and aquaculture sectors, but also other blue economy actors. Generate ideas, generate a vision for how they see their community improving things in their area, and build a consensus for what they want that vision to be for the next 5 years. So this is one thing that they can do to bring about this mind shift. It's really through direct engagement with local businesses and other related stakeholders. They have their budget to fund actual projects. They also have a percentage of that that is spent on their running costs, and that includes paying a staff who actually have as a key mission to undertake community outreach, or animation, as it's called. And that animation, I think, is fundamental to this CLLD approach in terms of changing people's behavior and mindsets, and how they organize their economy at local level. I think we heard this morning some of the barriers, two key barriers that I remember from one of the presentations this morning, was consumer behavior. So, and in particular, that trait that we have unfortunately in society at the moment to always want to consume new products. So awareness raising is something these local groups can do in their communities. They can fund actions to raise awareness, to deliver educational activities, training, etc. Exchanges as well between entrepreneurs to successful projects or successful companies who have managed to transition to more circular practices. They also have a budget to fund investments in local companies. And there we have numerous examples of different projects that the flags have funded over the years, all along the product life cycle, starting with trying to move towards renewable energies, solar, tidal power. We've seen examples of hydrogen boat engines, wind power to generate the energy they need for the buildings on land, but also rethinking the materials that the fisheries and aquaculture sector use. So everything from the plastic spat collectors for oyster production to the materials that go into ropes, for example, and lines, all sorts of things. And then the same for byproducts from the fishery sector. Many different examples of using shells, using organic fish waste. I won't go into all the details because we've heard quite a few examples this morning, but many of these sort of things have been piloted at local level and then transferred to other areas as well around Europe. Are we running out of time? No. And again, moving along that cycle from the sort of byproducts in the production stage, other things as well, energy savings, but then the usage of materials used in the fisheries and aquaculture sector. So we see examples of projects that aim to help the sector reuse materials, for example, repairing fish crates when they have broken, rather than discarding them, they've, repairing them. Recycling, of course, there's a lot of projects around recycling fishing nets and also collecting fishing nets, sorting, and creating new plastic or plastic pellets for new types of plastic products. We saw Fil and Fab was mentioned this morning. Again, they received funding from the flag in Brest. This is the sorts of entrepreneurs and people that the flag staff should be reaching out to, finding those people with ideas and innovative thinking and helping them put them in action, linking them up with the stakeholders that can support them and providing grants. It's small money, but they can get things going, and afterwards there's often bigger funds available to upscale. So those are two things, this animation role in terms of helping people rethink how they do things and also providing funding to make that happen. And then finally, perhaps in terms of the visibility, but it also strengthens the whole sort of learning process, is the networking. These flags are part of a network at European level, but they also each have their own network at local level. So they really build a network at local level across sectors, and look for complementarity between sectors. One nice project, for example, in Galicia involves, for example, the local shellfishing association, which wanted to promote its local product to local people to make it more known locally, berberecho cockles. And so to promote their activity and make it more visible, they wanted to make a nice area, a sort of that would attract people, overlooking the bay where they work. And they set up a small outdoor pool for kids, which is heated with water recuperated from the local swimming pool, which is heated with solar power. And instead of that water then being thrown away, it comes to this little pool outside and then is used again. So these sort of complementarities between different sectors, nothing to do with the fishery sector itself, that can strengthen and maximize resources which are being used. So yes, I think those local networks of stakeholders, but then of course plugging them into a network at EU level, so they can learn and transmit ideas to other areas around Europe. And also, I think some of the examples here today could be very nice to link in with this network of local action groups. I'm thinking of some of the projects we heard about today, and getting some of the flags to come on exchange visits to see some of these projects would be very interesting. I think I'll maybe stop there for now, and feel free to ask questions.
So many thanks, Monica. Thank you very much. I think your reflections are very interesting and relevant also to understand that in order to rethink these particular sectors, we really need to know them in the very details, and they have a lot of local specificities. Different regions have very different implementation in aquaculture and fishery sectors. So it's not just an industrial process that we can rethink mostly with discussion and theoretical approaches, but it's something really linked to our territories. We will come back to this later on. I'm now very glad to introduce you, the third panelist for this session. She is connected online. She is Miss Nawal Alaoui. She is CEO and the founder of Seaskin, which is a social enterprise in Morocco that produces and markets leather goods out of fish skin. I think, so we have the pleasure to have now here an entrepreneur and really to go to the ground and see the experience and eventually the difficulties. Hello, hello, Nawal. I have some questions for you as well. First of all, I would like to invite you to explain better what are the features of your initiatives. And then I wanted to ask you whether you relied on any kind of support in developing and starting up your business, like projects, pilot projects or funds or support from local authorities. And then a question regarding the dimension of your enterprise. Do you think you have reached an optimal dimension for your business, or are you looking for opportunities to scale it up? Please, Nawal.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. I am Nawal Alaoui. I'm from Morocco. I'm the CEO founder of Seaskin Morocco, a company that upcycle the fish waste to produce a fish leather that we use in a blue fashion in general. So our company work on collecting and producing the fish leather by using a process of a dry tanning that optimize more than 90% of water that we use normally in tanning. Also, we are saving energy because our process of tanning is short than other processes. So we started 4 years ago in Casablanca. Then we started working in Essaouira. We treat women from the coastal regions. We make a training for women in coastal regions to produce the fish leather. Also, the youth on the coastal region to collect and buy the fish waste from the fishermen, which give them an opportunity of a supplement income. That's why the UN Women supported us from the first and give us a grant to start our first workshop. That we launched and we give a result of 11 job opportunities per now. So our products we are selling our products in hotels, concept stores, and other retailers. I think we have the proof of concept. We started the first workshop and the second. And we have a lot of partnership with the concept store, and now we are looking for
Maybe we wait just a few seconds to see if Ms. Alaoui can reconnect in order not to stop her presentation. And if not, I'll pass the floor to the next speaker, but let me just wait a few moments more.
Sorry.
Yes, great.
I had a small problem. So I told you that we have the proof of concept, and now we are working. We are looking for opportunities to scale up, to create more workshops in small cluster regions, create an ecosystem of a blue fashion in Morocco also, and that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nawal, for sharing with us your experience so far. I'll be back to you with other questions later. It's my pleasure now to introduce Mr. David Fernandez Guerrero, a researcher at the Center for Agro-Food Economics and Development, Crete UPC ERTA in Spain, and representative of Blue Biomed project. And I also have some starting questions for you. Based on your experience with the Blue Biomed project, how multiple stakeholder collaboration across different governance levels and countries can help transition to circular economy, particularly in the sectors that you had the opportunity to explore, including aquaculture? And how the development of this multi-stakeholder network can be facilitated in the territories, from where and from whom we should start? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Martina. I would like to think actually that the approach that we're introducing, that we have been working on through Blue Biomed and our other sister and brother projects, is actually quite complementary to the kind of work that you have been doing from FAMET and other approaches like the ones we have been hearing, example, Blue Phasma, for instance. Why? Well, as you were kind of pointing in the question, what we've been doing in Blue Biomed is what we like to call a policy, testing a policy experiments methodology. Here I'm going to highlight especially what we have been doing for the challenge of sustainable / circular aquaculture in the Mediterranean, but indeed we have been testing this methodology for all the other sustainable development challenges in the Mediterranean setting, with ambition to cover as much of the Mediterranean basin as possible. Essentially, what does this methodology consist on, and how we have been applying that for the challenge of circular aquaculture? Well, the idea is essentially that you have to build, attract a network of quadruple helix stakeholders that work at different governance levels and different territorial locations, different regions and countries. The broader, more or less the broader the better. And you have to make sure that they come up, they co-develop a shared agenda, meaning a shared understanding of the current state of affairs concerning the challenge. So, like our colleagues from Blue Phasma were saying, okay, if we want to be like really circular with aquaculture, we know that, our departure point, there are interesting developments, but still we have quite some way to go. And then, if we have this shared understanding of, that is the current state of affairs, we also have this shared agenda, so to speak, entails a common idea about where do we want to go and what are the obstacles that are preventing us from reaching to that ideal state of affairs, right? And then, complementary to that, I was mentioning the importance of having this constituency of stakeholders. The process of stakeholder selection in the application of this methodology has been fundamental, because ideally, what you intend is to have all the 4 helixes and to congregate the different levels of governance. So really have this multi-level mindset in the application of the experiment. So going from the local, regional to the transnational and European. Because actually many of the innovations that could stem from the workshops that we have been carrying out as part of the experiment need this multi-level dimension to be scaled up. Otherwise, they will stick to the local level, which is indeed very interesting. But eventually, if you want to promote the transformation, you really need to scale up. And then, of course, this transnational dimension. So, shared agenda. The stakeholder constituency that is quadruple helix wise, that has a quadruple helix coverage and has this multi-level and transnational aspect inbuilt. And then, of course, yeah, the stakeholders shall be able to devote the resources and the willingness to go ahead with the implementation of whatever innovation projects stem out of the workshops carried out as part of the policy experiment. So with these two elements that I mentioned, then we went for a series of workshops that entail to solidify, to really make clear this shared vision, this shared agenda. And then, based on this shared vision or shared agenda, start co-developing what we call innovation potentials, but that's which you can see as a stage previous to actual innovation projects. So for the challenge of circular aquaculture, this meant that this shared understanding of the problem took into account 4 dimensions, so governance, social, economic, environmental, and that which included aspects such as the problems that we have been discussing these days on marine spatial planning, but also things like the training certification, the training and certifications available to really raise a labor force that could nurture the development of these circular aquaculture activities. Also things like, indeed, this market acceptance and how essential it is to raise awareness among citizens overall, but also other kinds of stakeholders. I mean, policymaking field is also quite important here about the relevance of the potential of these activities. And then as for the innovation potentials, these congregate around, let's say, like 3 pillars. So first pillar is this is a climate for collaborative innovation. The second one is kind of a knowledge exchange platform. And the third one is the kind of innovations that you can promote business model and technology-wise for integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. Just to name a few examples here, the innovation potentials that stakeholders through the workshop, so very participatory, decided that it would be interesting to co-develop innovation projects around covered aspects such as the collaboration between research institutions, universities, and the world of businesses, also taking into account the SMEs. Again, the training projects, especially thinking about European university initiatives, for instance, and also projects that focus on marine spatial planning, and indeed projects that address the problem of how to finance well, these emerging businesses and that, for instance, deal with integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. Just to finish, very quick reflections on the methodology that we encountered. In the process, we were able to congregate around 40-something quadruple helix stakeholders, quite representative of different locations in the Mediterranean, but businesses and civil society are always a little bit more tricky to involve. So it's important to really ensure that you have them, on your side. From the very beginning of the policy experiment, because this the way it can come out, this kind of methodologies, is not something that intuitively seems like very approachable to certain kind of stakeholders. So these are reflections to be considered. But again, we have been doing this, we have been applying for this methodology, not just for circular aquaculture, but also for 3 other sustainable development challenges in the Mediterranean, which provide some validity, hopefully. One is the challenge of plastic pollution. The other one is invasive alien species. And then the other one is the digitalization of the blue bioeconomy. I mean, and if it's convenient, I'm happy to discuss how has been the experience with these other challenges during the next round. Thanks.
Thank you very much, David, for this perspective. We are all learning how things are interconnected, and also plastic pollution and digitalization have been named this morning, of course. So this model is really interesting across different topics. And now it's time to give the floor and to meet our last panelist for today, Mr. Lefteris Arapakis, who should be connected online. He is waiting for us since a long time. Hello, Lefteris, nice to see you. Mr. Arapakis is director and co-founder of Enaleia, which is a social enterprise based in Greece. Lefteris comes from a long line of Greek professional fishermen, and Enaleia is an organization with a vision to make the marine ecosystem sustainable. Enaleia has created the first school of professional fishing in Greece. And I have to tell you that Lefteris has also been awarded as the United Nations European Young Champion of Earth for year 2020, and he is also ambassador for the Mediterranean coast by UNEP MAP for the biennium 2021-2022. So first of all, congratulations for these nominations. And please, I'm curious to hear, because your initiative tackles 2 key environmental emergencies in the Mediterranean, overfishing and plastic pollution. What is the advantage of tackling them together? And what is really the advantages the fishermen get from your activities? They should have some benefits in order to collaborate. So how can you do it? And finally, what is the importance of the social dimension of your activities? Please, Lefteris, the floor is yours.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's really an honor to be able to be among you today. And also thank you very much for your kind words. To be honest, me and my family will have experienced the negative effects of the triple crisis of climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss for quite a while now. My family, they have been professional fishermen, and my father, especially in the last 20 years, has been complaining that every year they collect less fish in their nets and more plastic. To be honest, when we started Enaleia, we went on a fishing trip to create, a curriculum for the fishing school. And then in that trip, we went to the beautiful islands of Cyclades. And then I was shocked to see that fishermen were collecting in their nets not only fish, but also plastic, and a lot of it. And I still remember that in the first catch we got, We got like this soda drink that was so old, it had expired back in 1987. So it was like 30 years in the sea. And as I was looking at that, the fisherman took it from my hand and threw it back in the sea, saying, you know, marine litter is not our problem. But over the next days, we collected plastic bottles, numerous plastic bags, a lot of fishing nets from the sea. And the fishermen, they were just throwing them back. So when we started reading that by 2050, we'll have more plastic than fish in the sea, we decided to act on that. And that's why we started training the fishing communities here from our local port in Piraeus to fish for plastic. And now, almost 3 years later, we are working with more than 34 fishing communities in the Mediterranean Sea, all over Greece, and also in the northern part of Italy. At the same time, we are also performing the same kind of initiatives outside of the Mediterranean, in the Indian Ocean, in the Kenya coastline, Watamu and Kwale. And what surprised me is that fishermen everywhere, from Piraeus to Rimini to Watamu, they have been complaining that they are facing this reduction in their fish stocks and also an increase in marine plastic pollution. So what we do in our initiatives is, first of all, we make them clean plastic with already existing activities. Plastic has been a bycatch for them. So in that way, we are able to collect plastic from the sea in a very cost-efficient and effective way without consuming any CO2 to collect the plastic. Secondly, because that's a passive initiative, the fishermen are fishing daily, and now as we speak, they are collecting plastic from the sea. And currently, only from the Mediterranean, we are collecting more than 5,000 kilos of plastic weekly, which is around 2 containers of plastic bottle every day from the sea, something like that, to give you a better understanding. So it's easy to scale. So if you just train the fishing communities to perform these kind of initiatives, it's very easy to scale that at a very low cost. Another initiative that we are doing mainly with artisanal fishermen of Greece and also with Kenya is that when fish are reproducing in the Mediterranean, usually April and May, we are connecting these fishing communities with sponsors and donors who provide funding for them to pause their fishing activities and instead go to isolated parts of the coastline of the island and collect plastic from the sea. So in that way, they pause their fishing activities and protect the fish at the same time. Finally, I'll give an example of that. It's a great way to raise awareness among fishing communities. Let's say we were opening our project in this fishing village in northern Greece. And I was discussing with the leader of the fishermen there, and he told me that, you know, nobody's going to collect plastic from the sea from here. I'll do it. The other guys are not. They don't care as much about this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, it's fine. If you just collect plastic from the sea, I'll deal with the rest. And I had the same discussion with each of the fishermen. Everybody was saying the same. I will collect, the rest will not. So the next day, when all of them arrived at the port with their fish and plastic, they filled up the whole port with plastic they collected over that day. So when they saw the impact they made to the sea in real life, they became among the most passionate activists that I've seen. And these guys, they are literally cleaning thousands and thousands of kilos of plastic from the sea every month, only that little fishing village. At the same time, by working with the fishing communities, we can also implement prevention activities. In the Mediterranean, we saw that the most common plastic waste we collect, around 20%, is lost fishing gear. So in order to prevent that phenomenon from happening, we work with all of these fishing communities and collect their used fishing equipment. And we make sure it's going to be integrated into the circular economy and turn into new products, such as furniture, socks, or swimming pants. This is also what we do with collected marine plastic. We work with certified recycling companies, and we make sure it's going to be turned into pellets and flakes. You can see it in the camera, but something like that. Little balls of plastic that can be melted into new products. So in that way, we can actually create a case study of circular economy that's going to provide revenues back to the fishing communities, especially the low-income ones, like Kenya. It's a very important source of an alternative revenue stream. So maybe if I have a main message to wrap up my intervention is that I believe that in order to go through this triple crisis, we need to reinvent the way that we do business. We need to create business models that are going to create win-win relationships between human societies and nature. Relationships that will create extra revenue for the local coastal communities and at the same time protect the environment. And in the fishing sector, we're trying to showcase an example like that. And I think that's my main intervention. And again, thank you very much for inviting me to talk here today.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience and your passion also for this field and for the relationships with your territories and with the stakeholders. We are closing now this first run, but the panel stays and continue. And we are now going to share the reflections from the panelists regarding the conclusions and possible recommendations. The report on circular economy in the Med, which was presented this morning, identified so far. So I would kindly ask the staff members to project the slide with a summary of recommendations, and I'll invite the panelists to share their reflections and suggestions for complementing or revising or improving the recommendations. So the questions addressed to panelists will be more or less the same. What are your reflections? What are the key aspects that you find in these recommendations? Also based on other presentations that were given this morning from other projects. And if there is anything missing or something wrong, please do not hesitate to highlight and raise your hand. So kindly, if you can project the list of recommendations from the slide I provided yesterday, I would be grateful because I would like also the audience to follow. The panelists already have this list, so in meanwhile, I invite Mr. Fokion Zaimis to take the floor again. We are a little bit short in time, so please keep it sharp. Thanks, Mr. Zaimis. I hope he is still connected.
Remarks? Do I see it in my computer as well?
Yes, I shared with you the remarks. I mean, yes, and they will be soon shared also in the video, I guess, of the meeting. But if not, please just mention the topics you would like to comment and start sharing your reflections. Thanks.
Okay, well, I would like to insist on what in my previous speech I said, that we are doing two things on the same time here in this blue economy. We're trying to reverse situations of old mistake that has happened decades before. And I insist on that because a lot of the money of the region, and I know from the municipalities and of the state, really goes to works that have to do with sustaining the coastline and trying to stop the erosion that happens in the coastline because of bad projects that have happened in the past or because of climate change. Both reasons are giving us a very big problem in all the coastline, and our region has a very extended coastline, one of the largest coastlines in the west of Greece. So at the same time, we have to face this problem which is present today and try also to help the blue growth economy and the professions, the old professions of the fishermen that we need to sustain. We need to keep these professions ongoing for a series of reasons. First, because they have an important know-how that goes from father to son or daughter, and they go from generation to generation. Second, because we need people to stay in non-urban areas and continue their life and their professions there. It's very important not to bring the people in the big cities, which is one of the biggest problems today. And third, because we have to keep the supply of food, especially today with this crisis that we face, of fishes in our daily in our daily lives. So all of these reasons. On the same time, we have to protect the environment. We have to work on models of circular economy and use new models. I really would like to congratulate Lefteris Sarapakis. I heard him, I didn't know him personally, for what he's doing about cleaning up and putting all this plastic. I will tell you a very quick experience that I had many years ago, because I am a geologist and I've also studied financial. And when I finished university, and that was back in the 90s, in the early 90s, I was participating in a big project of a geophysical project in the north of Crete, in the island of Crete. And that was on the north coast of Crete. And that was, I think, in 1991 or 92. Every morning in the north coast, there was so much plastic. And I'm talking about many years ago, in the early 90s, there was so much plastic that was coming every day in the coastline of the north of Crete that it is scary. So I don't know what happens today, if the situation has gone better. I am not very optimistic that it has. And it has not to do only with Greece, because the debris and the garbage and the plastic that is in the seas and the oceans does not come from one source only, or from one city, or from one region, or from one country. It's a problem that we have to work all together, many regions, many cities, many countries together. Mediterranean is a small, it's a closed environment. So all the countries, the north of Africa, Middle East, South Europe, we all have to face it together. And if we exchange know-how, and this Interreg Med, Blue Growth Community Project, is one of the opportunities that we have to work together and try to reverse the problems of the past and keep the professions alive, keep the business going, keep tourism, which is also important, going on, and on the same time maintaining our societies, our coastal societies. Is very important to keep the coastal societies and the people who live there and their families to continue and use the modern technological tools existing. So I've read all these points, I've seen them. I absolutely agree with those remarks. I do not want to go one by one because I will take a lot of time. I would just want to state to what we have to work together. We have similar problems. There's no borders and barriers in these problems. We have to work together. European community is trying on that direction, but we have to do more as regions and as municipalities to solve contemporary problems in the blue economy. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Zaimis. Thank you very much for your points. I would move to Ms. Monica Veronesi for receive her feedbacks on these draft conclusions and recommendations.
Thank you very much. I wonder if we can put them back on. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I think they're all very important conclusions. Ideally, we'll be doing all of these. I think I'll pick out just a couple. And yeah, I will focus myself on the promotion of sustainable industrial development, the reduction of resources needed to make what we're making, to produce what we're doing, including the raw materials we're using, how we extract them, and again, reduction in energy consumption. Ideally, of course, moving to renewables is very important, but if we can actually use less energy in the first place, then it's even better. So yeah, that would be my top one, and I think I would mention two others that sort of feed into that. One is developing standards for circularity. So For example, the fishing nets we're making, let's make them so that they don't get lost, so that they're not harming the environment in the first place, etc. And in parallel, what's mentioned here about sharing practical knowledge and know-how. One thing is sort of making it compulsory, and the other is the carrot, let's say, and actually helping people do that, showing them that it is possible, and involving as many people as we can to promote that approach and yeah, give inspiration and visibility to what can work and what can make a difference.
Thanks, Monica. Very sharp, very, very clear. Please, Ms. Nawal Alau, are you connected? Would you like to share your reflections?
I think that all the points are so important, but I will give a focus on one. Ensure financial resource using also innovative financial tools and fiscal instruments and incentives, because we have many initiatives here that they only need support, especially the financial support to create a role model that we can follow. We just need to see that we can succeed a project in the blue economy, to have this courage to create more businesses in this sector.
Okay, very clear. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
If you want to comment more, just let us know. No?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Okay, thanks again. Mr. Fernandez Guerrera, David, would you like to take the floor and share your reflections?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I will also pretty much agree with all the points. I think all of them have really strong, really valid points. However, I might focus on the ones on industrial development. Perhaps also a little bit the knowledge, the point on knowledge exchange and the point on financial resources. Why? Well, because actually, I mean, something that we've been seeing in the policy experiments is that it's important to for the point of knowledge in connection to the point of knowledge sharing, it's important to create this. To favor these multi-level networks where different sorts of stakeholders, in particular those ones that might feel in a stronger need for, I need to cross the domain of the type of stakeholder that I am. I mean, just think about the researchers that feel like I don't clearly see how the research that we are doing will eventually become innovations useful, for example, the recovery of plastics from the sea or the valorization of this kind of plastics. Or even better, we've seen along today plenty of pilots of interesting initiatives that really call for scaling up and approaches that ensure these access to financial resources. I mean, complementary, also very important, this harmonization of policy and legal frameworks, because after all we are in the Mediterranean, and that has a complexity of its own, regulation-wise. But especially the financial resources, if anything that ensures these financial resources for scalability is going to be equal to an accelerator of these interesting pilots, these interesting initiatives that provide novel solutions for circularity. Again, the recovery and valorization of plastics is indeed an example. There's plenty of opportunities, and they are really calling for support to scale up. And I mean, in the context of the policy experiments, we could see that we could sense that the kind of networks that we're creating in the process will eventually could have the potential of helping them gain this access to financial resources and perhaps even to policy influence to, again, to foster a more friendly policy environment. With this, should be fine. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Very interesting indeed. And Lefteris, Mr. Arapakis, would you like to share with us your thoughts about these key points that we identified so far, and maybe helping us complementing them?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be brief. I think that the draft conclusions are extremely important. From my experience, what we're doing in Italy, we're collecting plastic from the sea, vast amounts. But what we are doing here is actually we are treating the symptoms. We are not treating the cause. And in order to actually deal with the problem and solve it once and for all, we need to start implementing this kind of conclusions. We start implementing what Barcelona Convention guidelines are, also the recent UNEA agreement that was signed in Nairobi. So overall, I believe we need to use less plastic, first of all, and secondly, to start considering plastic from waste to a resource. So this is what the circular economy is about. So if we are able to provide value to that waste, then we can create a viable circular economy model that is going to eliminate the plastic pollution crisis. And we need to do that because currently we are not only speaking about the sustainability of the seas or of the environment, we are past that point. Currently, we are speaking about the sustainability of our way of living and our lifestyle. Especially in the Mediterranean, we experience that with the rise of temperature, the polluted sea, and all this kind of biodiversity. So we need actually to implement this kind of initiatives. There is no how, there are solutions, because it's not only the environment, it's our lifestyle also in danger here.
Thank you very much for this additional contribution. We are coming to the end of this first panel. I just wanted to spend 1 minute sharing with you some key elements I retained from this afternoon session, just some of them. Again, specific approaches are needed for these two sectors that we are discussing together here, fisheries and aquaculture, but they are really different, and differences, again, are very much marked also in the different regions, different areas of the Mediterranean. So highly connection with territorial specificity is required to understand the business models for these sectors and really rethink and support transition to circular economy, rethink the business and support transition to circular economy. And from here, the role of flags was highlighted, the role of networks of stakeholders across different governance levels. We also remind the very much need for sharing of knowledge and knowledge of transfer of knowledge between research institutions, stakeholders, operators, entrepreneurs. But I think the most important idea I would take home from this session is the importance of the social dimension in the opportunity to change production model, to increase circularity. And this aspect has twofold considerations, in my opinion. One, it is related to the engagement of the actors, of stakeholders, of fishers and aquaculturist entrepreneurs in the challenge, and without their really will to participate, to get engaged, and to change their business, no change is possible. And change into a more circular model in these sectors can really benefit the local communities, because we can rely on a better environment, but we can also try to incentivize the professions to be alive and local communities to be alive, and also trying to improve coexistence with other sectors like coastal tourism. I'm also thinking to the traditional of fishing nets repair in the Mediterranean, which is absolutely a form of circular economy by prolonging the time life of the gears. And yes, and then definitively the role of consumers, of the final consumers of these seafood products, that it is really critical and can really help to make this change. But to achieve this, there should be awareness raising and education of the consumers, also on requiring circular economy oriented seafood products. With this, I would like really to thank the panelists for their reflections and contribution. Thank you very much from my side and from the audience. And I'm now leaving the floor to Raffaele Mancini and the panelists for the second round of this plenary panel. Thank you very much again.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to this second panel in the afternoon. My name is Raffaele Mancini, and as my colleague Martina Bocci said, I had the pleasure to work on the report that was presented this morning very briefly, under the supervision, of course, of MedWaves and, and CPRM and Plan Bleu. As you know, in the next hour and 15 minutes, we will talk about two sectors that have been analyzed in the report, and two sectors that are very, very important for the, let's say, for the blue economy in the Mediterranean. Let's say that the sectors, of course, are ports that include also shipbuilding, ship repair, and then nautical tourism, which include also marinas and recreational boating and yachting. Obviously, these sectors have their own, each of them has its own complexity, its own specificity. And of course, they are also different when it comes to the potential to, let's say, improve their sustainability through the introduction of circular economy practices. As you can imagine, of course, we won't be able to enter into the detail of each of them. We will try just to make the panel an opportunity to understand a bit better about the initiatives, the measures that are ongoing or are planned in our region. To the introduction of circular economy principle in this sector. To do so, I will rely on the distinguished experts that join me in the panel. And so before starting, just let me remind you that we will follow the format that was followed by my colleague Martina, so there will be one question each. And then, let's say, a collective reflection about the conclusion of the report that are very important for us because, of course, as also Martina said, we really value this panel as an opportunity for us to have an additional, let's say, reflection to consolidate and eventually to improve our conclusions. Let me start. As you know, we have more or less 5 minutes per questions, but anyway, I will tell you when the time is over. I will start from Mr. Hiro or Agiro Simpri. She holds a degree in political science and public administration, MBA in business administration, and a degree in project management. Since 1999, she's the general director of the Acaia Development Agency and responsible for the planning, coordination, implementation, and monitoring of co-finance program, for example, Interreg, which are implemented by the agency. She's been also member of several national and international committees, groups, associations related to the rural development. So my questions would be, I mean, you more than anything else probably know that port and nautical tourism can significantly contribute to a new model of regional growth. And I would like to ask you, as development agency, which concrete measures are the agency promoting to improve the overall sustainability of the two sectors through the adoption of circular practices?
Hello. Thank you for your invitation. It is my great pleasure to be here today. I met also some people from my also fields, like Monica. She described before what we are more or less, what the flags and lags are for the rural areas and the areas of the fishery. So already, and Mr. Zaimis described my area here, which is part of the Dυτική Ελλάδα, which we have actually all the areas and all the category of the areas. We have rural, we have a coastal area, and also we have a very big cities and a port. So my entity, Achaia SA, and as a lag and flag, represent and has shareholders of the private and the public sector. We have so representative from the jobber, of commercial jobber of the area. We have people also from the agriculture sector and farmers and also fishermen in our board of decision. So as today I follow the presentation, and as I see again after a very actually successful seminar of circular economy of the FarmNet, I see again that circular economy is a new policy, as you say, a new direction from our areas, and we have to take in account what we are going to finance and what we can do to change the culture of our area, how we can introduce these new models, how we can encourage the people and the entities in our area to invest to the circular economy. From my point of view, I can say that first of all, we need to work a lot of raising awareness about what is the benefit about the circular economy. What else? I think we need a lot of animation. Greece and I don't know, my area, I think we have some good examples, but they don't know many people these good examples. So we have to rise and to publish and to work more with cooperation and to present the good practice and the good example, so we can inspire the people to want to invest to the new technologies, to change their traditional model of working. Even in coastal area, the tourism, they are affect a lot of the fishermen, and the fishermen affect a lot of the tourists of the area. And also, you know that the port has a main role in the places where it is, and we are not the exact entity who designed the policy for the port, but we are affected from what is going going to happen to the maritime and to the port policy of the regional government and also from the local authorities. Local authorities who are strong participate to my entity, and they are the board of director actually. They must be involved to solve the past problems. We need a new legislation, more simply and more fast implementing, as Mr. Zaimi said before, because it's not possible to give and to invest to infrastructure for the people, for the fishermen, because there are many difficulties to solve and to have the projects realized because the legislation is too complex. So some other aspect which we can actually do with my entity is the cooperation between the sectors, but also the cooperation between the areas. We have a lot of projects we realize, but now we are we have started already a very big project of the 90 areas in Greece where we are going to cooperate and to help the fishermen about the pescatourism in our areas, which is going to be a good model, but also a sustainable model for their income for the future. The most of this project, which is 100% financed by the EU money of the European Maritime and Fisheries Funds, we are going to develop a new strategy in our areas with the new initiatives and the new projects which we are going to finance in the future. But we have a lot of work to do. We have to do work about the education. As Analia said, the fishermen, they don't understand the sustainability of the area, the sustainability of their actually work. So it is very crucial this time because it is the time we are going to design and we are going to come and to speak with the communities what they want for their areas, what they want for the next day. Leader approach and leader methods which we use as entities, it's very high the principle of bottom-up approach, which means we have to make the communities part of the future. We need to speak with them, we need to work with them, we need to design together the new strategic of the area. So I keep the time now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Very sharp with time. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your contribution. And I would like to give the floor to our second speaker. Let me introduce Mr. Mehdi Benhai. He's a great enthusiast of marine and coastal issue, and he covers different positions, and is the president of Tunisia Association of Coastal Ports and Maritime Engineering. He's director of Coastal Planning and Rehabilitation at the Coastal Protection Planning Agency in Tunisia, Secretary General of the Tunisia Maritime Cluster, Vice President of the Association of Saison Bleu, and the Commissioner General of the World Sea Forum, Bizerte. So you have a lot of work to do. And my question is linked to your, let's say you are in a quite privileged position since you are covering, you are involved in so many initiatives. If you can just share with us what this initiative can be instrumental to promote the circular economy in ports and nautical tourism. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to be here with you and to speak and to discuss about the blue economy. I want to thank all of Guy and women who present and who offers this all the day today, because I want and I like to listen to people. So I think that I learned something new today, and this is very important. But the thing that I remark that there are a lot of problems with circularity, and I can tell you that I like the words recycle, reuse, repair, share. That's circularity, but when you are not a rich country, this is a necessity. This is not a choice. I think like that because there is a really difference between the north and the south side of the Mediterranean Sea. I like the Union for the Mediterranean. I work with them, but this is a real gap. And so in my country, we try to work always with the north side, because when you take the numbers or the statistics of, for example, the numbers of marinas, it's very different between the north and the south. And it's like that. In the past, we had maritime or sea identity. It's like that. We have a long history with Rome. But now the situation is very different. And we need this circular economy, because it's more easy to reuse or to recycle boats, accessories, materials, and it's in the other side, it's a problem when they become waste. So what to do? So we can't change things very well and very quickly, but we think that circularity is a solution, and it's a really solution, especially with waste, because in Tunisia especially we have a problem now with the ships. Many companies want to leave their old ships in our seas because it's more easier and no more security, and this is a big problem. So this is the side of boats, but also when I can say, when I can talk about dredging, it's very important. We work a lot on that, because we need to use waste material, and this is to make some new area, and we try to use everything we can, because recycle is very important, and we can save a lot of money too. And when you are not a very rich country, so this is a good opportunity for us. Thank you.
This goes also for Mr. Cimpri. Sorry, before we didn't have an applause for you. Okay, thanks. 3 minutes, so we are really even in advance. I would like to, and then of course, if we finish before, I think we have even time to make a reflection, let's say, on what has been mentioned so far. Our third speaker is Fabio Bignolini. He's project manager, team manager for marine projects since 2012. He's sailor from youthful age. He's Italian champions, twice Italian champions, and one time European champion. From 2016 to 2019, he works for the Barcelona. Barcelona is an historic international sailing regatta held every year in the Gulf of Trieste, and actually I think it's the biggest race in the world. And Mr. Bignolini is co-founder of Northern Light Composite. That is the initiative is going to tell us more. And since 2019, he deals with the conceptualization of new projects that test new materials together with the, of course, the research and development department. I think you have a video because maybe it's a bit technical, so a video may help. I don't know if can be projected.
I'm pretty shy to talk about in front of such an audience, but I will try to explain what we do. We are an innovative company from Italy. We work since 3 years on sustainable composite. We think that there is a big problem in the composite industry and especially in the marine industry, and it's fiberglass. Fiberglass is really difficult to recycle in an efficient way. It's possible to recycle, but it's super expensive, so there is a lot of boats abandoned everywhere. We started to work to solve this problem, and after 1 year of development, we present our composite that is called Air Composite. It's based on a thermoplastic matrix, flex fibers, and a recycled core. This is totally different from the actual technology because actually we have a thermoset composite that are a big problem because you can only burn it or you can abandon in the fields or on the sea. With this composite, we can really recycle and separate. As you can see or you see on the video, with this matrix, you can separate in 24-hour fibers, core, and resin. So everything is recyclable. And yes, if you can okay, this is the video. You can see our composite. And in 24 hours, is dissolved completely. You can separate everything. Each layer of the fibers, here there are flex fibers. This is the real innovation, and we are pushing on this side. To validate the composite and demonstrate that it's a real solution, we start to build our first demonstrator. It was a dinghy for young sailors because we think that we must start to kids to educate about sustainability and to teach and to adopt less impact boats for the future. In last year, we built our first real boat. It's 7 meters and a half boat. We have a video also of this boat. And this is the boat, yes. Now it's sailing in North Italy. The boat is fully built with flex fibers, and it's fully thermoplastic, so at the end of life, it will be easy to recycle. And with the recycled material, you can print new plastics. So in the old technology, you need to burn, and with new technology, you can reuse and print new parts. With this technology, we will introduce this year a new project. It's called EcoFiler, and here you can see that is really fully circular because we start from the molds. Actually, molds are in fiberglass and are not recyclable, are abandoned everywhere in the fields. We decided to switch to thermoplastic molds made with additive manufacturing technology. Then we have the composite with our technology. And also the sails are recyclable because are thermoplastic from one sails. So the full material can recycled to avoid the problems that we actually have in the ports and everywhere. In the future, I think that our goal is to become commercial. So in the next year, we will start to work on the first cruising boat, and we hope to sell the boat since 2024. Also, we will push on innovation because we think that we must push on innovation on one side and the other side, on the commercial side of the business. For that, we are looking for partners and projects from all Europe, and we are talking especially with North Europe. I would like to also to say something about another project we have this year to solve the problem of abandoned boats that in Italy is really important. The problem is that the boats are not easy to remove due to authorities. So we decided to map the boat in your region and to evaluate which boats can be reused and which boat must be abandoned, and to make the authorities aware about the problem, we will start to recover some boats and put on water again, and dispose in the proper way the boats that are too damaged and can be reused.
Thanks, Fabio.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fabio. I think we had a little problem with the video, but I guess it's available on your webpage. You see the Northern Line Composite. If you are interested, you can check it. I would like to now move to our next speaker. I have your bio here. That's why it's okay. It's Mrs. Ariadna Bennett. She's senior consultant on sustainable development. She assists companies and institutions in the transition to the sustainability and circular economy with a PhD in biology and a master in environment development. She holds 15 years of experience on sustainable development and an excessive knowledge on the links between poverty, environmental degradation, and economic development. A long experience in strategic planning, sustainability reporting, and lecturing. She is also author of books on sustainability. I would like to ask you, I mean, you have, according to your view, your experience above all, which is the degree or the quality, if you want, of the dialogue between academia and decision makers when it comes to promoting circularity into the blue economy in general, but of course when it comes to ports and nautical tourism, which is our topic.
Hello. Thank you very much for inviting us to this panel here. I'm here on behalf of the Chair of Circular Economy from the Techno Campus in Mataró. And I will try to answer this question as good as I can. So, when we talk about decision-making, we all think about public institutions and the public administration. And in terms of circular economy and any other kind of change, we believe that these institutions, so public administrations, are crucial in that sense because of the different roles that they hold in this transition. I have a list here, so if you don't mind, so I don't forget any of them. But mainly, we are talking about awareness raising and training, which the public authorities also do in many aspects, and also along many stakeholders with whom they are
interrelated or that they collaborate with. Also, these public administrations have the power to set regulations and establish specific frameworks that determine the direction that society, businesses, and even academia has to move towards. So also they develop new policies or facilitate and provide support to private initiatives. We also have these public administrations as crucial in developing the ecosystems that we need to establish for a circular economy. These new ecosystems that have been mentioned in several occasions here in this panel and before in the previous one, an ecosystem that should aim to reach this triple, quadruple, or even multiple helix that it's called in the academia, which puts together or brings together the society, the industry, the academia, public bodies, etc. So all the actors that should take part in the circular economy transition. Also, public administration should help or at least provide the foundations to make all this transition in an easier way, as easy as possible, as good as possible, and to communicate among all these actors in a language that is comprehensible, and also it's common to all of us, because sometimes it happens, and then it's where I come to this dialogue that has to be established. I'm sure many of you have had this experience where this dialogue is difficult because the language we use in each of the different areas or by each of the different actors is different. And then it's very difficult to communicate. So this is another aspect, the idea, and it also has been raised before, about finding a common language, a common understanding on what we talk about academia. To do that, the administration has to establish dialogue, or at least to ask for advice to the academia, and here is where this link comes, and the academia brings this support to the public administrations in terms of transferring of knowledge, tackling real problems, such the problems we've been raising here in this conference. Also provides the information for proper training, sensitization. So if the administration has to talk about circular economy, so the academy will provide the knowledge on what is circular economy and how we have to communicate. And finally, the academia is the ground, or it's one of the grounds where innovation occurs or helps innovation, because innovation also happens in businesses, and many times it goes hand by hand with the academia. So it is in that sense that there is a dialogue between the academia and also the public administration. But in many occasions, this dialogue, I would say, is bilateral. So it's dialogue that goes from the administration to the academia, and in few occasions, but more and more often, this dialogue should move out and become a dialogue among multiple stakeholders. Because if we manage to do that, this dialogue that now it's between two actors will be a dialogue that will become much more holistic. And this is what the circular economy is a holistic approach in which different actors and different stakeholders have to take part. So we have some examples that are happening here in Catalonia where this change is starting to occur. and is with the Barcelona cluster Nautic, together with the City Council of Barcelona and the Tecnocampus and the University of Barcelona as well. We are developing a project in which we are trying to identify all the activities that are done along the coastal line in terms of sports for kids. So sports and all kinds of activities. And we are constructing a digital platform where all these actors, so the cluster, those that work at the nautic sector, but also the university can enter, and the schools can enter the activities. So we kind of put together, establish this dialogue of multi-stakeholders dialogue. This is one example. And the other example is the project we are doing with the Barcelona Cluster Nautic and the Tecnocampus, in which we are trying to map all the leverage points for the circular economy among this sector. And this also somehow shows that we need to go beyond the sector and start interacting with other stakeholders. So when we talk about dialogue in circular economy, it's very important, or I think the lesson that we are learning is that we have to expand beyond this usual, or this way we used to have on communicating, which was more bilateral, and also it was more of a top-down approach because this is what the administration do. In reality, we should try to change that and have a bottom-up approach in which all these stakeholders, all actors come together and provide information about the needs, the problems, and also, and that would be very ideal, help constructing these new policies for the circular economy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ariadna. I think now for the first round, we have our last speaker that should join us online. I don't know if Philippe is connected with us. It seems not. Is it okay?
Bonjour.
Okay, Philippe, good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Let me just introduce you very briefly.
Merci, bienvenue.
Yes, Mr. Philippe Guillaumet is doctor in economic science. He was hired by the Grand Port Maritime of Marseille in 2004 as responsible for the port's investment and finance. And after this experience in the port, he continued to work with the port with distant functions. As responsible of the European affairs, he highly contributed to put Marseille on the European map as a leader port in the Med. And in this framework, he contributed to the creation of Med ports in 2018 that nowadays counts 24 ports. And Mr. Guillaumet is the General Secretary of the association. So, Philippe, welcome once again. And my question was for you was the following.
Merci beaucoup. I have to speak in English or in French?
I think I will pose you the question in English, but feel free to reply in French.
D'accord, très bien.
Okay.
Thank you.
And yes, no, actually, we know that MedPorts, of course, is a very important reality and a kind of reference when it comes to promoting the sustainability of ports. But I would like to ask you something more related to your role in the Port of Marseille that is also included in our report. And among the several measures that the Port of Marseille has implemented to promote circular practices, can you emphasize a couple? I mean, what do you think are the most successful that in principle could be also replicated in other reality, in other ports?
Merci.
Thank you for your question. I'd like, if I may, I'd like to go back to the subject of port authorities and their role in the circular economy and the development of blue economy before I go back to your very specific question on the Port of Marseille. I think, well, when talking about the port authorities, I think we should talk about what they do around the Mediterranean, be it in the north or the south shore of the Mediterranean. The association that was created in 2018 today gathers some 20 ports, some of the main ports in the Mediterranean, from Morocco all the way around the Mediterranean, going back to Spain. These ports are brought together by their joint desire, the shared desire to develop the circular blue economy. We know that the blue economy is the future and that this is going to bring about an awful lot of activities, an awful lot of jobs, an awful lot of opportunities. And also, we know that the blue economy is completely linked to sustainable development and the implementation of resilience initiatives. So the Mediterranean ports, the members of the MedPorts, are right now going through a triple transition. There is an economic transition because they are constantly seeking out solutions, logistical solutions, transport solutions, to try and cut down their carbon footprint. We want to be more carbon efficient. That's pretty basic. So we're looking for solutions also for intermodality to facilitate road to sea or to rail intermodality. That is something that port authorities are constantly on the lookout for throughout the Mediterranean. And then there is, well, we are going through a basic transition, even if we are already in the middle of the blue economy, and I'm talking about the digitalization process. The digitalization is a true revolution for all port authorities, and this means that, amongst other things, we see that the port today is not going to be the same as the port of tomorrow. Our work, our position is going to completely change. It's going to be a radical revolution. And then the third transition is the green transition. I think that we are all convinced that at the end of the day, we need to develop new processes, let's call them circular blue economy processes, that are going to help us develop a kind of sustainability which is going to be green, which is going to be sustainable, which is going to be resilient. So this kind of development is going to require energy, but we're going to go towards green energy on our ports in the Mediterranean. We want to go to renewable energies, solar energy, wave energy, tidal energy, wind energy. This is all being used in Mediterranean ports. Also, in this green transition, we have a new way to tackle sea transport with a reduction of negative externalities on the environment. That is to say, we need to cut down greenhouse gas emissions, working on our supply chain, working on cutting down the impact of the vessels when they're moored. So we have this triple transition, which means that in the end, and I go back now to your questions, in the end, because we are involved in these sectors, we need to implement a whole series of circular blue economy solutions in the Mediterranean. But our field of action, our stage, is not just the port or our ports. It would be the port of Marseille for me. From MedPorts Association, we have a more comprehensive viewpoint for all of the Mediterranean ports. We want to develop circular blue economy projects at Mediterranean scale, and this is crucial. We cannot have circular blue economy development without true cooperation amongst Mediterranean ports, because there are goods which are transported in through different ports because they are more or less valued in different places. We are all in touch. We are all part of the same unit. So the development of the circular blue economy is crucial for all of us, and we need this cooperation. And then, again, I go back to what you were saying. There are actions of circular economy. There are different projects which have to be inclusive, have to be comprehensive in scale. Before you were saying that we need the public and private sides of things to develop circular blue economies. Well, we need all stakeholders. For example, in the case of the port of Marseille, we need to bear in mind this triple transition and also the importance of the Mediterranean scale rather than the scale of being limited to the port of Marseille. So, talking about the port of Marseille, we have created areas completely dedicated to circular economy. We have 2,100 hectares, no, 1,200 hectares for this kind of activities at the core of the port of Marseille, purely for circular economy activities. And everything is done in association, bearing in mind all the stakeholders, trying to create synergies. And this is what we're doing right at the core of the port of Marseille, 1,200 hectares, with an association that acts as a facilitator. And apart from that, we also have a zone called Innovex, dedicated to testing out circular economy projects. We are going to start creating I don't know, pilot projects on algae, on cutting down CO2, on different projects. Apologies, Philippe, but we are running out of time. I mean, we're running out of time. Apologies. What you're saying is most interested. You will have time to develop your ideas in the second round. Please allow me to finish, of course. Just to say that within the port of Marseille, we will have, well, just to finish, there is one keyword: cooperation. We need to work together to foster circular blue economy. And the second point, we public authorities, we public institutions have to allow private bodies to come together in order to implement circular economy projects. And I'd like to finish thanking the organization for their very kind invitation to Med Ports Association within this very interesting session. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Philippe, for joining us. I don't know, I hope I don't see you anymore, but I hope you will be able to say also for this second round of questions. Yes, as Martina did before, I mean, the first question was a little bit a way to know better our speakers, to let them share with us their engagement for promoting circular economy practices in the two sectors we are discussing. And now we get more into the conclusions, recommendations that we propose in our report. And I would like our speakers having the background, not at the background, but I have to have in front of them these two sectors to help us define better, to improve our recommendation, tell us if something is not well expressed, if there is something missing. So I would ask our technician if they can once again project the conclusions. Great, thank you very much. So maybe we can start. Ariadna, do you want to start? Maybe we just follow the panel.
Okay, so I will go for these conclusions. I think all the conclusions were very good. It was difficult for me to select one or any among the others. But really, I think from my point of view that there are two issues here, which is the one is the digitalization and the other is the supply chain. And they go together, that's why I picked them both, because supply chains could not evolve the way is needed in a circular economy without digitalization, okay? Why? Digitalization comes into or provides two main outputs. The one is that the idea of the fact that we can monitor or check the performance of any kind of process or even materials, but also digitalization helps traceability and transparency, which are key aspects for the implementation of a circular economy. If we want to reuse any material, we have to know how it's been made, what are the contents, where can it be applied. So transparency is crucial. And then it comes to supply chains. And what I've seen working with companies and even the nautic sector, in many occasions when you start going towards sustainability, what happens is that you develop or you start doing some actions in an isolated way. So well, now we're going to put some solar panels, then we do sensitization, and it doesn't have a strategy below. So really, the change come when any company or any port or any sector introduces a strategy towards the circular economy, introduces the word circular economy in that strategy, so they have to define what it means, and then it's where this supply chain comes on board. Because when you start thinking how you have to relate around yourself, you identify that you have this supply chain, providers, clients, etc., that are key actors to be able to recover anything. We can put the example of the boats that we have here on the panel. To recover boats, you need clients, you need the society. So we come back to the idea of collaboration that has been brought, or the idea of multiple stakeholders and dialogue. And that's why this creating supply chains that are circular, it's key for circular economy. I hope I didn't exceed my time.
No, thanks. Excellent reflection, actually, very helpful. And Mr. Behai, how can we improve our conclusions?
Thank you. Report very good, because I think when we understand the problem, we can find solution, and this is very important. I want to talk you about the chapter number 4 before, which is barriers to enhancement of circularity in blue sectors in the Mediterranean, which I find very important, because you talk about policy and governance, industrial development, economy and finance, awareness and skills. And this is very important to understand, because I think that the conclusions are based on that, to solve this kind of problems, which are, I think, general for all Mediterranean countries. Usually we speak about sustainable blue economy in the reports, not about circularity. This is a new one, a good one, I think. For the conclusions, I prefer to start with the financial aspect, the last one, ensure financial resources, and as you write about also to communicate circular economy as a business opportunity. Because I think that business is very important to convince people, and for example, for the Mediterranean Sea, we don't have a report like for European Union, like showed us this morning about numbers in every country, about the blue economy in Europe every year. So we need that, I think, to be more precise, because we can write some conclusions, but we need to be more precise. This is very good. I think this is a lot of things to do. This is not easy to do, what you propose. Yes, yes. And I think that the Union for the Mediterranean can play a big role in that. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. No, I think I do agree with you. It's true that it's not easy. Of course, you try not to go too much into the detail. Otherwise, maybe you lose a little bit the big picture. But being precise and concrete, of course, is also the final ending of conclusions of recommendations. So we take this your point. Yes, Mrs. Simpri, what do you think we should change or modify?
Yes, I think you have very good, of course, highlight the conclusions. And I would like to say in some of them what my point of view is actually. Of course, it is very important to understand that it is a business opportunity if we want to go to the last one, as they say before, to finance this actually circular economy. So we have to raise the awareness about the good example and how can this be as a business model, etc. The other thing which I would like to highlight is on the implementing existing strategy policy framework. I would like to highlight that it needs to be more simplification about the rules, and also to clarify the eligibility about what we say when we speak about circular economy and what we can finance, what we can do as a measure to our programs and to be eligible so we can be a business opportunity also.
Sorry, when you say rules, you refer the regulatory framework in general,
yes,
legislation?
Yes, and the framework general, I mean the framework which the European Commission guides gave, and also the national and maybe some local legislation which exists now. So we have to find and to simplify all this if we want to have a realization of new projects and opportunities for the circular economy. It is very important to say also to involve more at the frame circularity coherency policy national and international level. We have to highlight that we have to involve local authorities to help also the local rules and regulation to formulate, so we can have a faster and we have a better policy and also better public infrastructure. Finally, I agree for the financial resources, which I think in this new period we have some instruments to work, and we can finance a lot of them if it is clear what is going to be eligible, and to be more clear and more fast the bureaucracy for the legislation. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Fabio, you're the only one from a startup, so you're...
Yeah, we like the report. I would like just to underline 3 points that maybe for us, like startup, are really important. The first one is the knowledge, the skills. So the first thing is companies can't go circular without an help. They must have the money to acquire the funds and to become aware of the technology. Another thing is the skills. We must teach the new employers, the new workers, to work with the new materials, the new technologies. Another thing important, I think, is legislation. For example, in our sector, marine industry, if we don't start to promote circularity with incentive, with bonus, no one will buy recyclable boats or new things. And the last one that is the most important for us as a startup is funding, of course.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I have to say that in the last 2 years, our company didn't receive nothing to push on sustainability, to push on technology. So it's really difficult to do it alone with private investments. So as you were saying before, bureaucracy is a problem. We must find a way to give the money to the projects that are really deserve it.
Yeah, thanks. And as we said on this point, as we were discussing during the lunch break, even within the EU, the situation is not the same. For example, your startup is an Italian one, and Italy is not, let's say, an example of investment research on your startups. Maybe in other countries, I don't know, in Northern Europe, you said this could be different.
Really thinking about moving in North Europe or in a country that is more innovative.
Okay, thanks. I don't know if Philippe can also intervene. I don't know if he's with us. No, it seems he left. Okay, we will ask him separately. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We are at the end of this panel. I don't want to repeat what you exposed already very well. Just let me be a bit selfish just to focus on the second part of our discussion, to focus on the report. I think that we got a very interesting even if you want requests in terms of concreteness and try to elaborate better to break down what we try to convey. I think the issue of simplification, legislation, regulation, attention to finance tools are really important. I take also what Ariadna said, which I think it's a very, very interesting, quite original. I mean, we didn't think about that, about this alliance between digitalization and supply chain as a way also of transferability, and so we will take this into consideration. So for my side, I will close here. Thanks again for participating. We have a few minutes if I don't know if someone wants to ask or to intervene, to comment on something that was said or was not said. It's okay. So thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. So before giving pass to the closing remarks, I wanted to make just two short announcements. One is that please don't forget to give back the receptors for the translation. It's very important. And the second one is for tomorrow. As you know, the meeting is not here, it's in the port of Barcelona. And it will be very interesting because we will have a presentation from the port to know their activities. Then we will have presentations from local startups, circular blue startups in Barcelona. And then we will do a tour by boat to visit all the port installations. So if you want to join us tomorrow, please, we should meet at 8:40 at the metro stop Parallel. This is the meeting point. From there, we can walk together to the auditorium. Otherwise, if you want to go to the auditorium, the name is World Trade Center. It's the main auditorium at the World Trade Center, but it might be a bit tricky to find it within the port. So it would be preferable to meet all together at 8:40, 8:45, and the metro Parallel. Okay? Yeah, there are different exits. The exit is Avinguda Parallel, the right exit. So see you there tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for being so patient. And first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for being patient. And now we're coming to the closing of this meeting. And I think during this day, we have learned quite a bit. We are, as we all know, we are in the general theme of blue growth and circularity, and within that we have learned about nautical tourism and ports, fishing, and aquaculture. Primarily, we have heard about the following. First, well, before saying that, primarily there are two questions when coming here, I think, at least in my mind. One question is, what's up? What's up? The second question is, so what? Okay, so here I'm going to just very briefly answer the first question, and then I will ask our contributors to answer the second one. In summary, what's up? We have learned about what it is that we have to keep in mind when we go about this subject of blue growth and circularity in these subtopics. We have heard about biodiversity, the importance of the coastal resilience. We have heard about ports being hubs for blue economy, and about the need for restoration and valorization. We have also heard about how to do it, how to go about doing that. And so we have heard about new incentives, about new blue business models that I think I'm just saying they also are not just business, because the topics we are discussing are very much related to humankind. So I would say not just new business models, but also new anthropogenic models. We have heard about next steps such as a new thematic platform, new priorities. Also, we have heard about what it is that can help in this process. And we have heard that, unfortunately, the circular economy is only at about 10% of what is around us. But we have also heard about the need to incorporate the circular economy within the concept of smart cities. So we have talked about circular planning and the new ideas, new in question, which includes digital cities, adaptive cities, and the educated citizen. Primarily the educated citizen. We have heard the word education here. Mr. Kremlis mentioned it. We've heard about examples of applications, very, very good examples. And from our panels, our distinguished panelists have talked about the opportunities for the circular blue economy in fisheries and aquaculture, in nautical tourism and port activities, and in sustaining the coastline and the profession. So that's what's up. Now we're going to ask our distinguished panelists the question, so what? And we are very, very fortunate to have these panelists here. And I will first introduce to everyone David Sanchez, who is Executive Director of EU Programs, Partnerships and Geographical Commissions and Membership at CPMR. He has worked for the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions of Europe since 2013. He started as Executive Secretary of its Intermediterranean Commission and is CPMR Executive Director for European Programs, Partnerships, Geographical Commissions, and Membership. During the last 16 years, he has held positions in associations of local and regional governments, NGOs, and management of project and policies, specializing in EU, multi-level governance, territorial and development cooperation, migration, and blue economy. He is also the author of publications and has been guest lecturer in university courses. Mrs. Sanchez, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yorgos. Thank you, everyone. I think it's a very difficult time right now because it's the end of the conferences. You must be all really, really tired. I hope that I will be able to say something interesting to help close the event. I would like to thank you, first of all, everyone, all the co-organizers, all the projects, the Blue Growth community, and in particular SCP RAC and MedWaves with your new fancy name, because you have done, I think, an amazing job hosting us here today. I think that events like the one of today are the example of how I think we should keep aggregating key players of the four helix, I think. And this is very important because, as we have seen today, and also yesterday in the event organized by DG Mare, that's one of the ways that we have really to identify solutions, a technological solution, identify partnerships, scale up solutions for the future, and also talk a bit about governance, how to pull all the strings together in a way. I'm thinking of this also with the eyes of one project that we at the CPMR we are starting now together with a big consortium that's Prep for Blue. It's the only preparatory action that will help the ocean mission to set the grounds for implementation, so the first phase until 2025. And I think that in this kind of, let's say, action, I mean, not only Prep for Blue that will also, let's say, prepare the efforts for all the four lighthouses, including the Mediterranean, to work on, let's say, precisely enabling the research and innovation core for the mission to be a success. I think that we can develop within this framework and all the lighthouses and all the other projects that will come in the future, a lot of synergies building on the solid results that you have presented today. I think that as circular economy and also, of course, decarbonization is within the key objectives of the ocean mission, this gives us a big opportunity. So to start trying to answer to your question, the so what, I think I will just try to speak a bit about the future opportunities. Of course, this preparatory action will be a key opportunity, I think, for us to, not start from scratch, of course, but to start to capitalize. Capitalize, I think, capitalizing on results of past projects, I think now it's a bit the mantra of the territorial cooperation, and I think it's very important because I think we have done in the past year, all of you have done in the past year a lot of efforts, and we really need to exploit those results using the new opportunities. Now, looking at the momentum where we live right now, we are at the very starting of the programming period from a point of view of operationality of funds, because it's right now where the calls are starting to be published. It's now when we can apply all together. It's now also when the European Commission, for instance, is promoting initiatives like the new smart specialization strategy, the new smart specialization platform on blue economy. It's now when we can start to pull together partnerships, including, let's say, investment, interregional innovation investment partnerships using instruments like I3. Is now that we can use the new calls of Horizon Europe and Interreg. And of course, we should think also about the new opportunities provided by the new phase of Interreg Med. So NextMed will provide us, I think, in the new programming period, and already they have published the first call with a very good opportunity that is, let's say, developing projects to contribute to the sustainable economy and innovation in the Mediterranean. That includes also work on the capacity building of the public and the private sector and on circular economy. We will be, as CPMR, of course, we are already involved in the building up of some of the projects, also on the governance projects that will be presented, but there will be a lot of opportunity, I think, also for the components of the 4 helix, for thematic projects, not only the governance project that will be approved. Let's say the call for this will open in few months before the summer break, and I think that the new community that will deal with this, the new institutional project that will deal with, let's say, pulling the efforts to mainstream the results into public policy will be very important. So the work that will be done there will be very important. And then we should not forget, I think, also the new next MED program that will be also an opportunity to open up a bit this collaboration with the stakeholders from the non-European rim of the Mediterranean. Just to quote and to conclude a couple of other opportunities, on top of ERDF and MFAF funds that are managed by the regions, of course, because there we have a great bunch of funds that can be steered by the regional administration and the local key players. I think that we should not forget about other things like Blue Invest, Prima, even we should not forget about new things that the Commission is proposing, like the tourism pathway, and international initiatives like the Glasgow Declaration that can help also us to, let's say, push circularity as a transversal element through different, let's say, development sectors in the economy. And then, last but not least, I think there is also an enabling factor that can be constituted by, let's say, the institutional frameworks. We have heard this morning talk, Alessandra Sensi from the UFM. What the UFM is doing is helping to create, let's say, an institutional framework that can, let's say, help us push circularity in different sectors of the economy at Mediterranean level. And then we have the macro-regional strategies, USER, WestMed, we have also BlueMed. We have lots of strategies that start, I think, to work in the same direction. This is an opportunity that we should not forget and really use. I think I will leave it there. I've been too long, maybe, so I hope this can be somehow useful. The floor is yours.
No, I thank you very much indeed. A lot of room for thought here. Okay, so we proceed with the director of SCPRAC. I don't know if I will pronounce your name well.
Midwaves.
Huh?
Midwaves. Now it's Midwaves.
Midwaves.
No SCPRAC anymore.
Okay, we don't. Okay, I'll let you say it. Okay. Is it Enrique?
Yes.
Enrique de Villamor?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours then.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much, David. It was an impressive speech, and it was not to look at it. In fact, I was learning while I was listening to you. I will be just maybe providing some just little information, just a little opinion that I think in some way will be a little bit complementary to what you were saying. As probably some of you already know from the speeches that were given by my colleagues, we are a center that is working in the framework of the Mediterranean Action Plan and the Barcelona Convention, an international treaty. And as far as the type of actions that we develop, we are specifically focused on trying to support entrepreneurship. In that sense, green and circular entrepreneurship. And this is something that we have been doing since the last 10 years. Before that, we were working on different kind of, let's say, actions, trying to address both people working in governments, people working in the small, medium, and big industry, and so on and so forth. And somehow we decided to drastically change our let's say, our focus in the access, because At some moment, I don't know some colleagues, among them Magali, were thinking on the need to really try to work with the people that are, let's say, making their lives just a continuous activity of providing opportunities and change for the better. And this is why I was referring to green entrepreneurs. And in that sense, we were very glad when we started years ago that even let's say the concept was not formally very known in the region. We made some calls and we tried to find entrepreneurs dealing with different sectors of what we call green economy. So I don't think that I have to refer to them. All of you are familiar to them. And we saw that there was a huge number of people, young women, men, more older, and so on and so forth, and who were providing great ideas. And that made us realize that we had to increase more and more the type of let's say, actions that would make some, let's say, support in helping the countries that entrepreneurs for circular economy, companies for circular economy or green economy are not a niche of market. I mean, in fact, companies, entrepreneurs, and everybody providing an economic activity should be doing it in a way that will be providing not only an economic value, but also an environmental value. And this applies also, of course, to both the blue economy, the green economy, I don't know, maybe in the future will be the pink economy. The thing is that what, I don't know who said years ago, many years ago, the companies, companies will be green, sustainable, or they won't be. And I think that everybody's realizing that this change is something that cannot wait more. So what we are trying to do, and also we invite different stakeholders to also to join to do, is to ensure that the integration of circular design in the very first, let's say, creation phase of companies, of all companies, is integrated in the programs, national programs for business support of all countries. Because, again, green company, circular company cannot be just a kind of a sector, as you were referring to, that there is still circular economy companies, you were saying that it's still, I mean, small, and normally are related to some specific sector, like we're having, I don't know, the energy sector, and that's not true. I mean, the circular economy companies refer to any kind of sector. And in that sense, what we are now developing quite, let's say, quite successfully, we say, and here I have Giorgio, the head of the Green Entrepreneurship area in our center, is to try to establish a specific, let's say, national support programs for business support organizations, and establish networks between them so that they can jointly agree on integrating circular economy learning and training and support in terms of financing and networking to any kind of, let's say, entrepreneur that is joining these kind of programs. So that circular economy, green economy, within the blue economy or the inland economy are fully, let's say, integrated. And but that's it. Yeah. I was brief, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, from the region of Crete, speaking for George Alexakis, we have the honor of having Aliki Karoussou, who is the local coordinator for Blue Phasma. Aliki is a marine biologist with masters in environmental management of terrestrial and maritime resources and PhD in marine biology. She has participated in European projects as scientific expert in fisheries, marine, coastal tourism, protected areas, climate change, and biodiversity. She is an active member of the Smart Specialization Strategy team of Region of Crete. So the floor is yours, and let us hear your opinion about the question. So what?
Thank you, Professor Stefanidis. It's a great pleasure for the region of Crete, not only to participate in today's event, but also be part of the co-organizers. So it is a really wonderful experience, and I would say and add what David said previously, that today's event and co-organization is exactly the proof for the significance of joint forces. I see today that we join forces, and when something like that happens, then there is truly hope things will go forward. So today we are exposed, let me say it in French, entouré, let me say it in English as well, circled, to many different ideas related to all sectors, wonderful ideas related to blue, circular economy. Did we really realize that? We are circled with wonderful ideas for circular economy. So we got it. We are almost there. What? to answer to Professor Stefanidis' question. As they say, ancient Greeks, η αρχή είναι το ίμιση του παντός. So maybe we just got 10% for circular economy, but what I said in ancient Greek means that start is half of the whole thing. So maybe we got just 10%, but we've started. So let's focus on the work we need to do. Of course, the way is long. We have a long way to go, but we are there. We proved today that we can join forces, and for sure, we can have a wonderful result. So what? From the part of region of Crete, we started this journey through Blue Phasma, and the experience was really great, really positive. Not only because the collaboration with all and each partner of this project was absolutely wonderful and positive, but also because Blue Phasma gave us the opportunity as a local authority to work towards circular economy, to set priorities for circular economy for our area, and also to trigger to explore business opportunities. Let me give two concrete examples from this experience through Blue Phasma project. The one has to do with invasive species in Crete. Those are species coming from the Canal of Suez, entering Mediterranean and settling actually in Mediterranean, also because of climate change. So this is a main issue for fishers in our area, and not only. The populations get larger and larger. We get more and more species that displace or even outplace local populations with a big effect actually to biodiversity and causing a real problem to local fishers and economy. What can we do? And how we can actually relate this problem with circular economy? We saw it as an opportunity, actually, to use this fish, this problem that is actually a waste for fishers when they get it out, they catch it and they get it out to the land, as an opportunity because some of those species are edible. So we thought that we can actually link this new fish, this new product with local market and especially with hotels, presenting this as a gourmet dish for the tourism sector, for hotels of the area. So we have started working towards that. We connected local authorities, fishers, hotels as well, and using a video promoting this idea and showing with a chef how how lionfish, for instance, the impressive lionfish can be presented to our dish. We have started working towards this direction. So this is an idea that we had through Blue Phasma project. Another concrete example has to do with education, Professor Stefanidis. It is something that we really also believe it is crucial and important. How to involve young people, young students actually, to circular economy. It is really important to introduce circular economy to young population and let them know what this means with hands-on, let's say. So in an event we organized in Crete Aquarium, we organized a workshop for young students that had the chance to work with abandoned fisheries material and be creative, use this material to construct and make something that is useful. Through this activity, we introduced them the meaning of circular economy. What is this? Why is this important? Why those fishing nets is a problem in the sea, etc. So we had exactly the opportunity to start a discussion with Crete Aquarium how this idea can follow up, so they can actually introduce this workshop, this material, into their educative activities and workshops they have during summertime, for camps they organize, etc. So they are really positive on this direction, and we are discussing that with them. Of course, to transform mentality is not easy. Speakers have referred to that today a lot of times. We need to move towards the circular economy model. We have a long way to go. We need to mobilize local authorities. And actually, the two words that could probably summarize all this is connect and relate. I think our effort needs to focus on interact, exactly as previous speakers mentioned as well, to exchange experience and ideas. What is experience here? It can be a possibility there. What is an innovation here? It can be a new market somewhere else. We meet together today towards a common goal for a common ocean that needs our true care. I think this is true for all of us. Let's hope we will have more opportunities to work together, to join forces, and to go to the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a fourth participant by internet. So if that works, then I will make the introduction. Shall I do it? Yes, it does work. Okay, great. Okay, so our fourth panelist is Céline Dubreuil. who is the program director at Plan Bleu. She holds a PhD in oceanography and master's in environmental policy and decision making. She worked in sustainable development for nearly 20 years. After 8 years at World Water Council in international water policy, she joined Plan Bleu as program officer for water and climate change to develop and implement the multi-annual water strategy for the years 2013 to 2015. Since 2016, she shifted back to marine issues, management of blue economy projects in MED. Céline was appointed Director of Programs in 2021 and is responsible for part of Plan Bleu activities, seeking funding and establishing partnerships. Céline, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this introduction. It has been a long day, but the exchanges have been very rich, so I will be brief. Plan Bleu, as a regional activity center from UNEP-MAP and partner of the Interreg Med Blue Growth Community, is very happy to have co-organized this capitalization event. Many speakers stressed the importance of creating synergies between all existing initiatives, and this event, I think, is a very good example of successful cooperation. In my opinion, this conference has achieved its objectives, in particular to highlight good practices, to show the leverages, the constraints, in order to promote the implementation of these good practices in the Mediterranean territories. I would like also to remind you that Plan Bleu published last month, still within the framework of this Interreg Med Blue Growth project, some guidelines for sustainable cruise and recreational boating in the Mediterranean, which aim to provide an analysis of the impact of these two sectors, highlighting good practices and measures to improve the sustainability of cruise and recreational boating, including the implementation of a circular economy. And finally, these guidelines provide food for thought for policymakers and relevant stakeholders to legislate and limit pollution in this sector. So I invite you to consult these documents available in English. And these guidelines, as well as the upcoming report on the circular blue economy, thus contribute to the implementation of the UNEP-MAP medium-term strategy for 2022-2027, adopted by the contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention last December. So thank you again to all the speakers and participants of this conference, and I wish you a great end of day. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Before closing, I would like to ask each panelist if they have a last word to say, and in the order that we followed, just maybe a few words after we have all heard, and start.
Thank you, Yorgos, and thank you also for all the rest of interventions that I found very interesting. Now, my last word is very simple. I mean, I think we are here to collaborate, and we need to collaborate, and we have the opportunities to do so. So it's just like we say in Spanish, manos a la obra.
Okay.
I just would maybe say very briefly that I just would like to say on behalf of MedWaves, formerly SCP-RAC, now MedWaves, that we have been pleased to work together with our colleagues, our partner institutions, CMPR, also University of Patras.
I'm from Region of Crete.
Region of Crete, sorry, because it was the fourth partner was going to mention, sorry. And also, of course, to our colleagues from Plan Bleu. It has been a great and very intense, in that sense, task in the organization of the event. If you also allow me, allow me, I would like also to thank to my colleagues from MedWaves, Magali, Ananda, that have done very tough work in all the matter related to the content and to the organization, and also the management of the participants, as well as to my colleagues from the communication area of MedWaves, Paul, Julia, and Lucille. Also, of course, to DG Mare, because they also were interested in developing their blue biotechnology event back-to-back to our joint event. And well, if also with the permission of my colleagues, I would like to also to briefly mention that it was just today that our new website was also issued. So I would invite you to visit it. It's called midwave_center.org, and you will find it's very nice. The team will just see it today. That's it. So thank you again. Thank you to all the participants, and as Davide was mentioning, now manos a la obra, because this is just the first action that we have developed for many others. So thank you.
Thank you, MedWaves, for hosting this event. That was really a great opportunity for all of us. Thank you all for participating. Thank you for all the good work done so far. And my last word would be, let's stay optimistic. Let's continue the good work. Let's hope that we will go till the end. Thank you.
Have we lost our connection from with our last speaker? Perhaps? Celine, can you hear us? Here, yes. Okay. One last word, whatever you'd like to say to finish.
Maybe just to repeat my previous colleague, but it was a real pleasure to work in synergy and in partnership with all these partners. So I think this is, it will continue in some upcoming projects because many of us will be partners of projects which have been submitted in the different call of tenders, Mediterranean Lighthouse and so on. So this is the beginning, and we will work hard to implement in practice all these measures and all these recommendations in the whole Med region.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I may take this opportunity, having heard all of you, I think it is time to consider that we are in a position with our cooperation, connection, and relating to each other. We are now at the point where we are ready to actually reevaluate our world, because water is more than half of the world. So that's where we are. We are going back home, ready to reevaluate our world. Thank you.